Good morning again, you guys. How are you? Good morning, Justice Warriors. Oh my goodness, I'm still waking up. Yeah. It is just about almost a quarter to 9 on Thursday, December 29th. So let me straighten myself out, try to pull myself together. Thank you guys so much for being here. I wanted to first announce the winners of the Kylie Rodney Christmas tree ornament. Pixie Knickers, Heavenly Clouds, and Kale, please email me your addresses so I can get those sent off to you. So, congratulations. Oh, yay, Pixie Knickers, you won one of the cool Kylie Rodney Christmas tree ornaments. So I'm really glad to see them go into good homes. And again, it wasn't myself that made them or is giving them away. It is another subscriber. So thank you to her. I don't know if she wishes to remain anonymous, but she can tell me, and then I can, you guys can thank her directly if you want. Anyway, on to the Idaho 4. Man, this case is so sad, is it not? And is it not so sad to see all of this beating around the bush and getting people getting all bent out of shape about this, that, and the other? Like, we have 4 deceased people, young adults, like babies that were just about to start their lives. I mean, I'm 55, right? When I was younger, I thought that that was super old. And as you turn 21, you feel like you might be a grown up, but not really, right? You turn 30, you kind of think you're getting there. You think, oh, yes, now I'm a grown up. And, when I turned 30, people would say to me, life begins at 30. And I kind of agreed with that. But for myself, again, I didn't have children until I was 34, which I think is one of the greatest accomplishments of my life. And just having an opportunity to watch the world around you, participate in the world, contribute to your community is just so sad. These 4 people that were just taken out before they really even got started. I mean, 20, 21. It's so sad for them. It's so sad for the people around them, friends and family. What I'm getting at is I'm kind of horrified that we're not seeing people freak out. Like, those of us in true crime are probably freaking out more than they are, and we're completely removed from it, right? It's devastating. It's sickening. It's awful. It's not a movie, it's real life. Somebody physically destroyed with their own hands 4 human bodies to the point that these people are deceased. They did it quickly, they did it swiftly. They did it in a house where noise travels, and there's 2 surviving roommates and a surviving dog. We know, I mean, we just are getting so gaslit. Common sense tells us there's going to be doorbell ring cams all around that house. There's going to be Alexa. No, Alexa, don't do it. Alexa and Siri and so many other things, cell phones, laptops, Apple watches, smartwatches, all these things that are recording the sound. We might not have video of inside the house, but we certainly have sound of inside the house. Any screaming, the police would be able to determine how loud it was if it is potentially feasible that the 2 roommates were sleeping. But there's going to be cameras all over town at all of those intersections, and then store cams like the one at the gas station or the one on the corner between the corner club and the grub hub. I mean, this is nuts, you guys. Okay, maybe the police have a handle on it. Maybe they know exactly who they are going to arrest and they're just getting their ducks in a row. Why is no one in that community, law enforcement included, why are they not freaking out like that this could happen again in the meantime before somebody is apprehended? Why are they so calm? I mean, it certainly seems to me like they're calm. Maybe I'm misreading it, or maybe I'm not getting that information. Of course, I'm not there. I'm very far from Idaho. I'm in Ohio, probably what, 2,000 miles roughly? I don't even know. So good morning, folks. Yes, it's scary as hell. I'm freaking out, Pixie Knicker says. Me too. E-records will reveal much. Where's LE on that tune? It was Steve Gonzalez who said he was so concerned about the level of low tech that this police department has. And I believe that. I do believe that. Younger people are more adept with technology. Many police departments have like IT police that just do things like monitor Facebook, monitor people's posts and people's comments. I mean, there's so much like drug dealing that goes on with social media. There's so much like Craigslist Backpage. There's so much dark web. They have to have that. And yeah, we know that Moscow PD is a smaller department, but I'm really concerned. I'm really concerned why this person in charge of the police department seems to smile and bobble his head. I'm concerned about that still shot of the corner club. If that is a still shot of the surveillance camera in the corner club, we really don't know, do we? It could be fraudulent. It could be photoshopped. It could be not Jack. It could be not JF, the boss of the PD. Who knows what that is? And it's just ridiculous that there's so many questions, there's so little information. I'm really still not buying any of it. I'm really not buying the what did you tell Atom? I told Atom everything. Like people are just taking that and running with it. Oh, so Adam contacted Jack and so Jack overreacted and killed everybody? I don't freaking think so. This is not something that happened like that. This was pre-planned. We don't know if it was one assailant or more than one assailant. But what I do know, re-listening to the most recent press release with the boss of the police department, he actually made a statement where he said one person, basically. I'm not awake enough to recall the whole thing. And of course, I didn't write it down. It was in that interview, I want to say it's about the 6 minute and 45-second mark. And he's saying something about how when we have a jury, we want them to be able to decide that he did it. Like, I'm not kidding you. Those are pretty close to his words. When we have a jury deciding, we want them to know he did it. He said he said one. I thought that was bizarre, unless he knows who did it. But I'm freaked out that he's not acting scared. He's not acting sad. He being the police chief. I'm freaked out that JD, Jack D, is not acting sad or freaked out. His first love is deceased. And he's upset about people commenting on old Instagram posts. He's upset that people across the country, half of the nation thinks that he might have done it. Putting myself in his shoes, if my ex had been massacred like that and I didn't do it, I would totally understand that they're looking at me trying to determine if I did do it, trying to determine to rule me out or not. I don't think I'd be that upset. I think I would be so upset about the 4 people passing away, the 4 people getting brutalized like that. I'd be so devastated, I wouldn't freaking care if people were thinking I was guilty. If I knew I was innocent, of course, you don't want to go to jail for something you didn't do, but if you're innocent, you are probably going to be confident that that's going to show, that the evidence will show that you're innocent. Why has his story changed? Why did it go from his roommate said he was asleep at his apartment to he was asleep at his parents' place in Coeur d'Alene? That's not right. You can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. You can't change your story. The second you change your story, you just hosed yourself. It's over. Your story doesn't change. Okay. E-records will reveal much. Where's law enforcement on that tune? If it was Jack Day at the corner club and it was 1:36, I believe, I guess the minute after that he rushed home and fell into a deep sleep. I don't think so. Dilly Owens, you're so funny. So yeah, on the little timestamp it says 1:32 and maybe 36 seconds or something like that. Um, there's speculation that that is photoshopped. And looking at pictures of the interior of the bar, it kind of looks to me like that not be might not be an authentic picture of the inside of the bar. The way the room is shaped with the back door and the way people are sitting, like that back door looks like photos that I've seen, and that maybe that's a front door, right? I'm not sure, but it's just hard to say. People are starting to dissect it, looking at the shadows, looking at there's like lines, like vertical lines on a lot of the picture, and then over Kaylee, they're kind of slanted. And screens do that, right? The pixelation does weird stuff. And I want to say this too, that a lot of times when I'm rewatching my videos to make sure I didn't say something crazy and stupid that I need to edit out or just make a correction on, I look like I might be photoshopped, right? I mean, I don't do anything with those, what do you call them? The filters, but the computer has a mind of its own. It does its own crap. It's crazy, right? I mean, it messes with stuff. It messes with your hair. It messes with your face. It messes with your body. I mean, I could barely watch my video from yesterday with the way the angle, like I won't even get into it. I try not to get hung up on those things. But it's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So for the pixelations, for the streaks to happen, that could just be the computer. I don't know. I'm not an expert with that. Let's see. Oh, I see that you're at 3,000 today. Yeah, isn't that exciting? Yes, like it went from 3,000 on Christmas night, I think, Christmas Eve. It was totally like a Christmas present. I want to say it was Christmas Day in the evening that it finally went to 3,000. And then the next morning I woke up and it said 3,001. And then later it said 3,002. And I just thought that was really cute. Like every single person counts. So thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for your support. Thank you for helping the channel grow. Let me start with my disclaimer. Everything that I say, if I can speak, give me my coffee, please. Everything that I say is simply my opinion, right? And I'm hoping to start a conversation, hoping to open up a discussion about some things where we can all learn how to keep ourselves safe, how to keep our communities safe, how to keep our families safe. That's what it's all about to me. I make these videos for YouTube, obviously, so I do like to include that YouTube is an entertainment platform, and so somebody might call it an entertainment type of thing. Personally, I feel like it's an educational type of thing, but I like education. I like documentaries. So to me, that's more entertaining than fiction anyway, right? I really do need to inject some coffee into my system. Let's see. Put it on the most guilty looking person. Squirrely Burger, good morning. I am so half asleep. Pinned message. Um, Somebody please clarify this for me. Did Jack D so worried about half the world hating him? Why hasn't he stepped up and given a lie detector test and DNA? It's a super good question. And why isn't he scared about who else could be getting murdered while nobody's getting arrested? Why isn't the police chief scared about that? Why aren't the families scared? Why isn't the community scared? I would be terrified. It makes me think they know who did it. That maybe they're keeping tabs on him, like they kept tabs on Brian Laundrie, right? That's what freaks me out. I do not like to distrust law enforcement. However, they've made their own bed, right? They say some crazy things, all this stuff about taking time off to be with family over the holidays, getting counseling for the cops. Like, yeah, they should be traumatized that they're incompetent, in my humble opinion. Not to sound too rude, but give me a break. You've got a freaking psycho killer. You've got somebody the equivalent of Ted Bundy, right? We were speaking about that yesterday or the day before, that nothing like this has happened that I know of since Ted Bundy in Florida, Gainesville, University of Florida. I think that was in 1978. There was sometime in the 70s. He might have been convicted in 78. I think he was convicted in 80, put to death. I can't remember. I mean, I was young. I wasn't following those cases. But then when I went to Evergreen State College in 1987, and, by then he was already executed, and finding out that he'd gotten a victim from the small college that I was attending. Back then, the college was like 1,200 students. And so it had been even smaller when he abducted somebody from the library. And then living in that area, living in Seattle, I met so many people who knew him directly, either professionally, academically, personally. And everybody said the same thing. He was the most polite, nicest, unassuming, bright, witty. I mean, Anne Rule is a great example. Anne Rule with all the true crime books, she worked with him at the crisis line in King County. She sat next to him. They stayed up all night volunteering for people that were suicidal, talking to him on the phone. She was devastated when she found out what he did, because not only because these people were hurt, but because she lost one of her best friends. I think he was like one of her favorite people that she'd ever met in her life. Like, she thought he was the cat's pajamas. Even when she knew what he did, she still couldn't believe it. That's how it was for everybody. I told you, I had a friend that I played volleyball with who worked for the attorney general, who was in a small study group with him in law school. She was a very good judge of character. She told me, you would not believe, if you knew this guy, you would absolutely not believe he was capable of these things. That was the consensus. I mean, I've said it before on my channel, like, if every crazed killer had that Charles Manson look on their face, nobody would ever go near them, and they'd never get an opportunity to hurt anybody, because you'd look at them, you'd say, oh my goodness, there's a Charles Manson freak right there, stay away. But no, they are wolves in sheep's clothing. Enough of my soapbox. Anyway, let me get some of these I missed. Okay. Thank you guys for all your great comments. Pixie Knicker said, someone said yesterday that the shadows looked fake. However, I watched a video by Dr. Thrifty who believes it is real because of the shadows. I watched Drunken Turkey or Drunk Turkey. I like those guys. They're very down to earth, and they just kind of cut right to the chase. Um, and they were discussing the possibility of it being fake. I'm no expert with technology. It looks to me like it could be fake based on the shape of the room. Like in the still shot, it looks like a very square room. And looking at what looks like that same door, and I think that that might be the front door. It looks like the back door in the photograph, but I think that that might be the front door. I'm not sure. Um, but looking at photographs of the bar on their website page, that same area where it looks square in the still shot doesn't look square in their website pages. It looks like it's more like an L shape. So that's one thing. But I might be confusing the front and the back. That might be a totally different part of the room. So I don't know. Um, I could see it being real and I could see it being fake. I mean, how many times has the true crime community and the public been completely gaslit with these cases? I mean, it's like it's a hobby for these people. Like they're just having fun with it. And why do they talk about us so much? Why does law enforcement talk about the true crime? Like who freaking cares what we're doing over here, you know? Um let me see. Justice, I don't think the picture's real either. The bar owner said at the very beginning he wouldn't release any footage. Right. So what it looks like though is somebody took their camera and took a photograph of a TV screen because it's kind of tilted. So that's why that could be why we're not seeing footage, but we're just seeing a still shot. Is somebody took a photograph of the computer screen with their camera, similar to the gas station, perhaps. Um, let's see. What is the way Kaylee asked, "What did you tell Atom was odd?" Did she talk like that because of drinking? Or do they speak that way in Idaho? I love that. That's too funny. GC, that is too funny. Um, people can disagree, but I think it is significant in this case. Right, and we're here to discuss. We're here to look at it from different angles. I'm sure they'd rule it as an accident if they could. Oh my goodness, Carrie Koo, thank you for saying that. I 100% agree. I 1000%. What's up with that? You know, you can only do something 100%, not 200, not 1,000, not 2,000. So when people go with the higher numbers than 100, that's a red flag to me right there. But it's a very, very good point. Yes, I'm sure that they would rule it as an accident if they could. They don't want people to know how dangerous their university is. And this is a very dangerous university, you guys. I mentioned yesterday, for anybody who didn't catch it, or it was just a brief moment, this assistant professor, associate professor Ernesto Bustamante in 2011, who murdered his girlfriend. I want to say the name was Katie Benoit, Benoit. In 2011, the professor was having an affair with a student who allegedly had gone to the police earlier that same day and said, "I'm scared." And they said, "Don't be," or something. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, of course. She was not the only student he had romantic relations with, allegedly. That was only 11 years ago, and it was the same flippin' police chief. So, on his watch, this professor killed a student that the police were aware of having an inappropriate relationship with her and scaring her and making her feel the need to take up her valuable time and go walk her butt into the police department and say, "I need help." And they said, "No, you don't." Same freaking police chief. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay, let's see. Law enforcement makes us distrust them by their own actions or lack thereof. Exactly. I love documentaries, Squirrely Burger. Me too. I think it says need to, but I think you meant me to. So yeah, if you're doing voice to text or just spell check does its own thing. YouTube has replaced my regular TV program, and I have to say I appreciate that because there is a tremendous amount of factual information out there. Um, and however, law enforcement works for the corporations, not for the people, hence the amount of murders that go unsolved. Unless you turn yourself in and make some really dumb mistake, you'll get away with it. It's a really good point, Squirrely Burger. Law enforcement is supposed to protect and serve the people, the community, the civilians. In my opinion, they pretty much protect and serve themselves, and they protect and serve corporate interests, financial stability of whatever community they're in. And I like to be realistic and not be so critical of that. Like, of course, you have to have a solid financial stable economy, right? You absolutely have to have that for everybody to keep moving forward. But you have to protect and serve the people that you've sworn to protect and serve. I mean, most communities that size, the largest part of their city budget is going to be the police department. And we all know the police department got $1 million from the federal government to help with this case, like a week or 2 weeks ago. I'm not even sure. Um, Sorry about the dog barking. Again, I'm not worried about you guys hearing it. I'm worried about it turning my brain off. So let me drink some coffee. It doesn't take a lot. Especially over the holidays. Let's see, to turn the brain off. Um Heavenly Clouds. What was that? Oh my goodness. Good morning, everybody. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for your support. I said that before. Connection is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. Okay, that went away. I have it plugged in. Why? Why? Is it just technology, or is it because I'm criticizing law enforcement and they're masterminding the technology? Not to be paranoid, right? Okay. Um Heavenly Cloud says, I wonder about Maddie and Kaylee talking and walking. We can hear them. There must be other videos of people walking and talking so we can see if it is true and we can hear others. Such a good Heavenly Clouds. And it might not even be legal for an establishment like that to have audio on their outdoor video camera. I'm sure that is something that is different state to state as far as a two-party state versus a one-party state, if it's legal to record conversation without the other party's consent. So I hadn't thought about that until just yesterday. And I wondered, is Idaho, we can Google that. Is Idaho a one party or two party? And then even then, there's a lot of rules and regulations with outdoor surveillance cameras. A lot of businesses don't have them for a lot of reasons. It doesn't make sense to me, but I know that that's a thing to not have an outdoor camera. A lot of companies will have all kinds of indoor surveillance, but not the outdoor surveillance because it opens up probably lawsuits, is my guess. Um, but yeah, there must be other videos of people walking and talking. And then what about that freaking king size king cab white pickup truck that pulls into that parking space right as it's passing them, right as they're having their conversation and passing that camera? Why is that pickup truck pulling over? Is it because of the people that they knew them and they saw them and they pulled over? Or is it because there's something else there that they were parking and getting to? I don't know. Um, let's see. Okay, I'm going to try to catch up. Dilly Owen says, I think at least we should know what she told Adam. He's still alive, and I'm not clear on Jack D's on what she wants money for. Jack D's aunt, but she ain't scared to ask. She put a deadline on it too. Oh my goodness. Isn't that crazy? These people and their GoFundMe accounts. And yeah. So Jack D's family, they should be protecting him, right? I would think that any family would want to protect their child in a situation like this. And you guys know that I think all indicators point to him as the prime suspect. If he is indeed, he's not safe. He's not safe from himself. He's not safe from anybody. The police could keep him safe. They could keep him on suicide watch. Just a thought. Just one thought. Um, yeah, you guys, I'm getting caught up where you're like, same chief? What? Yeah, isn't that nuts? What an a-hole. I don't trust him either. Isn't he in the bar picture if it's real? It's so hard to say, Carrie Koo. I've stated that I think it could be him, obviously, if you've been keeping up with my channel. But it's really hard to say. I mean, it could be anybody. The fact that the face is smeared is a huge freaking red flag. And I don't think that that's my eyes playing tricks on me. I think that somebody took some type of thing to the still shot and smeared the face. I mean, you can see that there's like a gray goatee, and you can see that there's like a thing on the hat that kind of looks like it's in the shape of a gun. And then you see the man's thumbs hanging out of his pockets. The one on this side is like a duplicate to the photograph next to the police chief doing that. Like he habitually hangs his thumbs in his pockets. I don't know. I think it's pretty striking. The police chief must be paid by the university. Yep. It's getting to be pattern in recent cases, all being accidents. This one was savage killings, and we need to keep hounding for answers. I agree entirely. That was him in the bar in that still shot. Well, I'm glad to hear somebody else say that, Miss Anonymous. I feel like I'm the only one that's been saying that. Others said it's the bar owner, but it looks nothing like him. Right. And I have a photograph of the bar owner in my community page. And I had gotten his name wrong. I thought his name was Mike somebody, but apparently it's Mark somebody. And I have, you know what? I'm going to put maybe a new photograph because I got a much clearer screenshot of that image, that same image. So you can see like what's on his hat and stuff. It's a corner club hat on the bar owner. And then he's got those mega loaded is like the t-shirts that he's showing, and that picture of him is from 2011. That's 11 years old. So yeah, maybe he does have gray hair by now, but he's a much beefier kind of guy. The person in that photograph that I think could be the police chief is much smaller, in my opinion, than Mark, the bar owner. And maybe Mark's not the only bar owner. Maybe he owns it with one or two other folks. Let's see. But I'm happy to have some company on my opinion there that it's him, because I think it's highly possible that it's him. Where are we at? Okay. Allegedly says the plus side to labeling things as accidents instead of charging someone and losing on a technicality, they can gather evidence and change it to murder when they have enough evidence. So you think it was an accident? I'm just kidding. Yeah. Yeah. Accidental natural suicide is what I like to say. That's what police try to pin it on, an accidental natural suicide. Nothing to see over here, folks. It's him, I think, in the bar pic. I think he's creepy as F. Smirking in interviews. I wonder if that's why he hate if why Kaylee's family hired people to deal with the case. Wow. Yeah, Carrie, you just like put that so in such clear perspective that yeah, if her dad, her family is like, look at this smarmy guy who didn't protect this student 11 years ago. My question is, how did that not fall on him? Like, how did he not get held accountable? Why is he still there if he failed the community back then? Again, it's domestic violence. It's the sexism. It's disgusting. Something about his smirk irritates me. I really dislike the bobblehead. I mean, I'm exaggerating it, but he does a lot of bobbleheading, and it's not like he's nodding to affirm a yes answer. He's just bobbling his head. And it makes me wonder if he's doing it just so he doesn't look frozen, that maybe he's like watched himself in some of these interviews and he's like, oh, I'm too still. I need to move a little bit. But no, it creeps me out. The bobbling of the head totally freaking creeps me out. Something about his smirk irritates me. The police chief looks like a claymation character to me, like Gumby. Oh my goodness, lucky lady. You're gonna get in trouble for saying that. Like, this is not a matter in which you should be smirking. Exactly. Exactly. I said the phrase yesterday on my live last night, the cat who ate the canary. Like, he's got like the canary tail coming out his lips. Oh my goodness. Police chief looks like, okay, we got that. Poor Gumby. At the memorial, Jack never looked at the crowd or camera during his eulogy. That bothered me. Um, did Jack say anything? I didn't see that. If if I missed it, I would love it if you could email that to me. My email address is justicetooz@gmail.com. But GC says at the memorial, Jack never looked at the crowd or camera during his eulogy. That bothered me. I didn't catch him doing a eulogy at all. So I'm super curious. Let me get caught up. I'm a few minutes behind. Me brain. Is everyone else playing okay? Breaking up on my end. Oh, sorry. Um, Idaho one party consent. Thank you, Rogue House. That's awesome. I'm gonna highlight that. That's great to get that information. Mine is playing fine. Good to know. Someone did an analysis and Moscow has 13 traffic cams. I grew up in a small town. That's a good amount. Right, right. Yeah, somebody was saying that in the live last night. I've come back in. I'm okay now. Thanks. Good. Thanks, Pixie Knickers. I agree. Lucky lady. I love my kids, but accountability. Right. And, I mean, I said this the other day. I've got 4 children. If anybody ever got caught up in a mess like this, I would protect them with my life, no matter how bad of a mistake they made. I would absolutely love them, no matter what they did. But I would push them to be 100% accountable and responsible and safe. I mean, anything less than that, like Brian Laundrie's family, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're not doing yourself or your kids any favors. I mean, discipline is the most important part of child rearing, and not killing people is one of the most important parts of anything, right? Oh, it's just heartbreaking. It is just heartbreaking. Let me get caught up here again. Let's see. Oh, goodness. Um, this one I'm laughing at. Dilly Owens said, the Chiefs go to is I have daughters. Replace pinned message. Well, he's never lost a child, so he has no clue like to smack that smirk off his face. Yes, yes. I know. Anyone who's lost a child, I just cannot imagine. I don't know if you have, Dilly, but I just can't imagine. I mean, it's hard enough losing your parent when they're old, right? Andrew works for Moscow Water. Looks eerily like JD. What? Star Wars. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I'll go ahead and pin that. So that's very interesting. Um, Owner has dark hair and no belly. Right. And he's beefy. Like, I mean, beefy in like a young, strong kind of way, not like in a heavy set kind of way. Years ago, my middle boy knew of a guy who he thought murdered his 17-year-old girl. He said everyone knows he did it. He never told police because he didn't want them to blame him. Just saying, and people have brought up with folks that are in Moscow that might know something that they might be scared to come forward. I mean, if they know who massacred 4 people, of course they'd be scared to come forward if that person is still on the loose or being protected. Let's say that that person is being protected by law enforcement. What are you going to do? Who are you going to go to? A higher governing law enforcement body? I mean, they can be co-opted too. They can be compromised as well. It's like that spontaneous combustion. Yeah, and I'm thinking of the Kylie Rodney case with all these higher entities, and hopefully that'll get straightened out. Glad the smirking bothers other people. I thought it was just me until you started talking about it. And I only started talking about it when other people started talking about it. And I was like, what? Yeah, that's gross. It's just gross. The bobblehead is I don't know why the bobblehead creeps me out more. I, I'll try to think on that. I'll try to noodle that. It really does. It creeps me out more. Like the smiling can be like a nervous thing or just a PR thing, but the bobblehead is super effing creepy in my humble opinion. So I'll ask you guys here if you don't mind hitting the thumbs up to like, share, subscribe, all that jazz, part of the program here. I can't tell you how many times, like every single day when I'm watching somebody else's video and they say hit that thumbs up, I'm like, oh yeah. Like I forget all the time. I'm kind of a space cadet, I guess. There was some guy who killed his wife while she slept, and he got off because he said he must have been sleepwalk killed. I remember this, but I can't remember the year. Yeah, I kind of remember that too. I think it was only in somebody else's live that I was referring to the Twinkie defense. I could talk about that for a moment because that was in San Francisco in the 70s, late 70s. There were some politicians that were working at City Hall late at night, and one of them killed the rival and another guy. He killed 2 guys, and he ended up getting off on an insanity plea of that he ate too many Twinkies and he had, sugar problems. And I'm not kidding you. You can Google it. The Twinkie defense. And then I guess that movie Milk was about the guy with the Twinkie defense. And Sean Penn played Milk. I haven't seen the movie. I remember it was highly acclaimed. But when I lived in San Francisco, people talked about the Twinkie defense. And I'm like, what? And it's a thing. It's a real thing. It's crazy. He could have also had a medical problem. Yeah, that's always a good one. It's a bad reaction to some medication that made him stab everybody in the. Ugh. Um, let's see. Allegedly said he could also have a medical problem. Those are involuntary tics, which nobody would know. Oh, you're talking about the police chief. Thank you. They just see a smiling older person. I knew an old man that lost his wife and bobbled his head. Yeah, that's a super good point, allegedly, but that police chief doesn't look very old to me. Like he's got white hair, but he looks younger than I am. I mean, I'm 55. A lot of people think I look younger than that. He doesn't look older than 50 to me, but that's just me. And I mean, not to say that he couldn't still have a medical problem or a tic, but yeah, that what you're talking about, I think of more with older folks. Smiling, but he was crying all the time. Oh, you're talking about that older person that you knew? I'll highlight that one too. All right. He didn't say nothing. Looks could kill. Jack did not speak. Thanks, Heavenly Clouds. And I'm sorry that I'm behind. I remember I was doing this yesterday and probably the day before. I'm just kind of behind. I apologize because that might be frustrating when you're watching and making comments and knowing that I'm a few minutes behind you guys. I'll try to get caught up right here. I get you allegedly. Whenever I'd get in trouble as a kid, I'd smile from being nervous. I hated that, but I couldn't stop it sometimes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and yeah, Susan says, Heavenly Cloud, I remember that case. Hey, Kale, how you doing? You won one of the ornaments. So to reiterate the three winners, we had Pixie Knickers, Heavenly Clouds, and Kale. So I need all you guys to email me your addresses so we can get those sent off to you. So thank you for watching, and I'm really excited that they're going into good hands. Um, let's see. I thought it was her ex, so many Jacks. Either way, I will try to find out who the guy was that spoke. Oh, GC, I think you're talking about Jake. You're talking about Maddie's boyfriend. And oh my goodness, the guy, I could just cry thinking about it. Yeah, he didn't look up at all. I mean, he was so broken up. He spoke, I thought, very well and very authentically for somebody who is absolutely crushed and probably having trouble sleeping, having trouble getting out of bed, having trouble eating, having trouble tying his shoes. I mean, literally. Yeah, that was Jake. Oh, absolutely heartbreaking. Oh, so sad. Yeah, and he talked about how when he realized he was in love with Maddie, I think they'd been together for a couple of years. He probably thinks his daughters are angels and these kids deserve it because they were in a party house. Carrie Koo, yeah, I don't know how old his kids are. I've told you guys I have a kid exactly the same age as these college fatalities. She's in college, she's 20, she's almost 21. She lives in a house with four female roommates. There would be five, but one of them's not there because of, technicalities, um, not because they're like unsafe or anything. But anyway, it's just very, very similar. So it took me a while to even identify that because you go into shock, you go into denial, like it's too close to home. Another one of my children is the same age or a year older than Kylie Rodney. So, yeah, you can over identify and it's just too close for comfort. Um, and hard enough losing a child, but knowing that they're mutilated, I don't know how one would live with that. And, murder, I think, is absolutely the worst. I've known people who've died in automobile accidents. I've known people who've died from medical situations. I know people who've died from suicide. And I know people who've died from the hands of another. And it is, in my opinion, by far the worst kind of loss because it's unnecessary. I mean, a medical situation, a car accident, even a suicide, you know, those things happen. It's unfortunate, but a murder should never happen. I mean, I wish I could say the same thing about suicide and car accident and medical situation, but I mean, to die at the hands of another evil freak, like how on earth does anyone think they have the right to take someone else's life? They think they're God? They think they get to make that choice? Or do they think they're Satan? Or are they just so freaking crazy they're not even thinking? That would be my guess. It is so, so disgusting. And it so often is somebody that was loved and trusted. Otherwise, they would not have access to these people. Whoever did this was extremely comfortable in that house, extremely comfortable with that dog, and extremely comfortable with taking four lives in a matter of minutes. And let me say, whoever did this, whether it was one person or more than one person, because I don't know. I think I might know, but I don't know. Um, let's see. Oh, pixie knickers. Am I caught up? I think I'm caught up. You'd think these people would show signs of going into shock. That's what I'm talking about, Kale. Yeah, like wouldn't we all be freaking out? We'd be crying, we'd be emotional, we'd be talking about these people much like Jake, Maddie's boyfriend, was talking about her at the memorial. That was so sad. And yeah, he didn't look up. I was surprised he could talk. I was surprised he could talk publicly because there were hundreds of people there. I remember the boy talking about Ethan, and I'm not sure which um boy you're referring to, but yeah, Ethan, excuse me, is a triplet, and he has a brother and a sister. And his mother, I remember her very clearly in the memorial. I think that was the celebration of life, kind of a makeshift memorial, not the actual memorial. But yeah, she had a lot of trouble speaking too, and was laughing a little nervously, but you could tell she was just fighting the tears, just choking them back. Me too. My son is about 20. Case from the 90s. He killed his wife while sleepwalking. Scott Fallater. Yeah, there's way too many dudes killing their wives and girlfriends, in my humble opinion. I mean, the domestic violence is just unreal. So, if this is domestic violence, obviously the case back in 2011 there in Moscow was domestic violence. And it's during the breakup that 75% of women who are murdered by their romantic partners, 75% of them, it's during the breakup. So, when Jack D's aunt stepped forward and said how, what she interviewed with the New York Post, and she talked about how he was sad that Kaylee, sorry, had broken up with him 3 weeks before the homicides, and that he was sad. Wait, I thought it was amicable. No, he was sad. And all of a sudden, that put it at the 3 week mark because I had always heard 2 weeks. And I'm thinking, wait a second, that dog that was skinned across town, that was 3 weeks prior. And the police, way too quick, in my opinion, said, oh, there's no relation, there's no correlation. It would make a lot of sense if he lost his mind and he was upset about Kaylee and he was upset about Murphy, their dog, that he was going to do something crazy to someone else's dog while he's trying to work up his psyche, his courage to do something that crazy to people. That would make sense to me. I'm 100% not convinced that those two things are unrelated. And I know there were other animals getting tortured and abused in the area too. So that's not normal. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen anywhere. That's not a normal thing. We all know that serial killers start on animals. We all know that. That's common knowledge. Um, let's see. Have a good day. Who is saying goodbye? Let's see. What bothers me is someone being guilty of murder and the loved ones forgiving them. I mean, forgiveness is I think, a necessary part of life. Oh, gotta go, Rogue House says. Have a good day. Yes, you too. Um, no fear of consequences. I can understand forgiving, like I said, if my child were to do something like that, I could easily see forgiving my child. However, I would still not like it, and I would still want them to do the right thing and do the safe thing and turn themselves in. I mean, anybody who's a danger to others is a danger to self. The line between homicide and suicide is very thin. I mean, we've all seen the movies and maybe even seen in person of somebody holding a gun, pointing it at somebody else, and then pointing it at themselves, and then pointing it at someone else. That's real. That is real. When somebody is angry at the world, they want to kill other people. When they're angry with themselves, they want to kill themselves. But you can be all of the above, angry at the world and angry at yourself, right? And like that professor in 2011, suicide, homicide, suicide, murder, suicide. Unfortunately, that happens too often. And then the perp is not even, no one is able to hold the perp accountable. And that's really sad. Really, really sad. People need justice. And sometimes I think it's rare where people say, well, that's justice because the person is deceased. It's more common that they feel robbed that this person got away, that they got to take themselves out. um Dahmer practice on animals, good grief, exactly. I think so many did. Hunter Johnson talked at eulogy about Ethan, his friend. Isn't Ethan's brother also a hunter? The name Hunter? Um, uh, Ethan Chapin. I want to say his brother's name is Hunter Chapin, but because I was under the impression that that black SUV that got towed away from the 1122 address was Hunter Chapin's, but maybe I'm getting my wires crossed. Let's see. He was losing his dog and his girl. Was she leaving the dog behind? You know, Rhonda, I wanted to discuss this because I think that many of us have assumed, I know I have, that the dog was going with her and that he was losing the dog and the girl. But then it was just this morning, I think, I thought, well, what if, they were sharing the dog and the dog's a big responsibility? What if neither one of them wanted the dog full time? What if the dog was kind of up for grabs? She said, fine, I'll take the dog with me. But, that confusion, that ambivalence. What if he initially was like, yeah, I don't want the dog, but then changed his mind? I don't know. I mean, I think that the theory of the custody of the dog being one of the triggers could well be. I mean, a lot of us love our animals more than we love our people because our animals are like unconditional. They don't argue with us, they don't insult us. they they don't disappoint us. They're always happy to see us. I mean, animals can be such amazing like people in our lives, right? They're like family members. So yeah, she was taking Murphy, I believe. Yeah, I believe so too. I understand forgiveness on a spiritual level, but not when someone kills someone's child. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. And yeah, anybody kills my child, I would never forgive them. But like I said, if it was my child that harmed someone, I would forgive them. I would still hold them accountable. It's like, that forgive and forget. It's like, no, I would not forget. I would forgive. But somebody hurts my kid, I don't know that I'd ever freaking forgive them. I'd want to kill them, of course. But, you can't do that. The vigilante thing just won't work. Not slamming survivors, but who calls friends before 9/11? I'm so confused. Oh, before 911. I'm thinking like 9/11, like the Twin Towers. I Sadi, need brain, need coffee. Not slamming survivors, but who calls friends before 911? So, GC, you're probably talking about the roommates the next morning. And my thought has always been that they didn't see anybody murdered yet when they called their friends, that they woke up, they were on the first floor, they called their friends, they maybe had plans to go get brunch or something, or to cook brunch at the house. I don't know. My thought has always been that that's why they called their friends first, and that then they called 911 when they realized something was horrible, something horrible had happened. And I still can't discern whether Ethan was in the kitchen or in the bedroom. So in my imagination, it could be that they had not seen any person. Maybe they saw some blood somewhere and were like, wait, what's going on? And then they were knocking on a door and nobody was answering. Maybe. I do not know. Um, and they're not releasing that 911 call. And the police chief had readdressed that in his last interview. They will not release that 911 call, which is not how it usually goes with public records requests. You can usually get the phone call released really quickly. We're at 7 weeks, you guys. We're coming into the 7th week, and they still haven't released that 911 call. They are hiding shit. Straight up. They are hiding shit. That's a fact, in my opinion. Allegedly. With a personality disorder, some mental health issues, we tend to easily mistake our emotions for reality, and that can be extremely dangerous with those who don't have help and support. Personality disorders are very dangerous, and they're very painful for the person that has the personality disorder and pretty much anyone that comes into contact with that person. It's a very, very difficult thing to live with. There are 2 hunters. Thank you, Maven. I'm going to highlight that. Okay, good. I wasn't imagining things. Because, yeah, that's not a very common name, but I guess in Idaho it is. The Mary Kate Ashley twin who found Heath Ledger did the same thing, GC. Unbelievable. Good point, Kale. Mary Kate Ashley twin who found Heath Ledger. And see, Heath Ledger and her were doing drugs, allegedly. So, yeah, if people are doing illegal things, typically when someone dies of an overdose, their friends will like dump them off anonymously at the ER or something. I mean, people are stupid when there's drugs involved. Yep. Dogs are heartbeats. Dogs are the best. Oh my goodness. I love dogs. I love kitty cats too. And I love the people. But yeah, pets, it can be harder sometimes losing a pet than a person. My mother, when she lost her last cat, that was like almost 20 years before she passed away. And she had such a hard time losing that kitty cat. It just broke my heart. Let's see. Where are we at Star Wars? Ethan's brother is Hunter as well. 2 hunters. Hunter J is the tall kid who answered the door to cops, the noise complaint. The guy with the things on his wrists, like the zip ties, like anybody ever figure out what those freaking zip ties on the wrist were for? That is bizarre. I think that's the same guy, right? If anybody has any idea what those zip ties are doing on that kid's wrists, please speak now. I'm almost caught up. I was caught up for a minute and then I got uncaught up, but I'm super close. Um, Animals give me reason to get up and get moving. Yeah, yeah. I know. I love my animals so much. And I love my kids, my husband. I mean, I just feel very fortunate to have my support system. And you guys, I love you guys. I'm serious. You guys are the greatest. JD would also be at that age where personality disorder could be in full bloom without him even knowing he has one. Jaded Warehouse, good point. This can be the age where the effects start to really have dangerous outcomes. Such a good point, Jaded Warehouse. Are you a mental health professional? Because not too many people know about personality disorders. And so what Jaded Warehouse said is absolutely accurate. It's accurate for personality disorders and other mental health issues like bipolar's typical to show up in late teens, early adulthood. When the people are making that separation into their adulthood and really having to hold their own, that's when people's mental illnesses surface, usually. Not always. They can surface earlier and they can surface later. But when a person has what we refer to as a psychotic break, It's usually around that age. Like JD is 22, and it's usually late teens, early 20s. So another thing I wanted to say about personality disorders and that surfacing is that when there's the stressors of life, the major stressors, losing a relationship, a significant other, graduating from college is a major stressor. Of course, it's super stressful to get all of your work accomplished, but it's super stressful to go into life without college because college is kind of a protective bubble. A lot of kids are scared to graduate. Absolutely. Um, and losing the dog, losing the girlfriend, losing the protective bubble of college. It's my understanding that Jack D was scheduled to graduate in April. I can't imagine that anybody in a situation like that would continue with staying on track academically, even if he's innocent. Like, I would think you would need some time. But that's just my opinion. Sometimes people do better to just try to maintain status quo and continue with the consistency of what it is that they've been doing and just kind of getting lost in the busyness of the routine. That is the way some people hold themselves together. However, a lot of people need to just fall apart, right? I mean, I think most of us picturing ourselves in a situation like that would picture ourselves just falling apart. But you don't know until you're in a situation like that how you're going to react. So when people say, "Well, you can't judge how someone is acting," it's true. You can't. You don't know. And everybody's going to have a different reaction. However, there are a lot of red flags, and those are valid. It's valid to see a red flag. It's valid to question a red flag. There's nothing wrong with that. Um, Something odd about this whole case. I'm gonna highlight that. I agree 100%. The whole thing is crazy. I remember when it first happened, and I'll be honest with you guys, when it first happened, I thought it was kind of bullshit. I kind of thought, is this like some big, I'm going to admit I'm a conspiracy theorist. I thought, is this some big conspiracy that those people in Truckee are trying to get the focus off of Truckee, and they're going to have this horrible, heinous quadruple slaughter in Idaho to get people to quit talking about Truckee and go look at Idaho? That was my first thought. And I think a few people that were real focused on the Kylie Rodney case thought that as well. And I kind of thought, well, that's crazy. Nobody would really do that, go kill four innocent people just to get the national spotlight off of their town onto a different town. But I always say truth is stranger than fiction. You just never know. You never know. But I don't think that. I don't think that that's what happened. I think that we have a domestic violence situation and that it did take my eye off of another case that I think is very likely a domestic violence situation. And again, I want to reiterate that domestic violence is not always a significant other. It can be any family member. It can be a parent, it can be a child, it can be a step parent, it can be a stepchild, it can be a sibling, it can be an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a grandkid. Domestic violence is not just romantic partners. So I've always thought that the Kylie Rodney case was some type of domestic violence, and I still think it's some type of domestic violence. And I hope that that is getting solved, that case. I mean, that's just a nightmare. But this case, I think, is domestic violence as well. What kind of drugs does anyone know? Let's see. I fell behind again. Something damning was said on the 911 call, something they can use for prosecution, perhaps. Oh my goodness, Kale, what an excellent point. Yeah, I just figured it's something secretive that they don't want anyone to know. Um, I bet the caller said something detailed about the crime scene. That's probably why they won't release it. You guys are on it. My goodness, I'm glad I'm getting caught up. And I'm gonna catch up and then wrap up because we're already about an hour and 10 minutes. Let's see. Very, very good comments, you guys. Thank you so much. Hey, Monique Cole says she's back. Pixie Knickers, I want to know, since there's no footage of the 4 victims being removed from the house, if anyone saw with their own eyes them removing them. Pixie Knickers, that is so brilliant. Was it you that brought that up yesterday? Somebody brought that up, and I was like, I had not even thought about that. What a freaking good point. Yeah, we never saw body bags. We never saw anything. Oh, wait a second. Is that what the U-Haul truck was? Is that what the U-Haul truck was? Okay. Am I a conspiracy theorist? Pixie Knickers, you guys, I want to know. As I'm wanting to wrap up, I'm wanting to start a discussion. So maybe we'll pick up with that on the next one. Is that what the U-Haul truck was? That's gross. I mean, there's so much procedure that needs to happen with the coroner. But maybe that's why the police chief was the one driving the U-Haul truck. Oh man, my mind is just blown. Holy crap. Okay. Did I? Yeah, I highlighted that one. I want to know, since there's no footage of the 4 victims being removed from that house, if anyone saw with their own eyes removing them. Oh, bye, Kale. Gotta run. Have a good day. Hazing, I'm guessing. I've wondered about the hazing. I've definitely wondered about the hazing. And the 2 sororities, that the one that Kaylee was in and the one that Maddie and Xana were in, were both on probation. I think there's 10 sororities on that campus. And I think that they were the only 2 that they were on a probation for hazing activities and substance abuse, alcohol types of activities. If there was blood everywhere, I would not be calling friends. Yes, definitely. But what I've heard that the blood was behind the doors, that the doors were shut and even locked. I don't know. We all know, we've seen the picture of the blood dripping down the side of the house on the outside. Um, and then there's been questions about some dripping on the inside that people have wondered if it is. In my opinion, it looks like it is. Other people have said it's other things. Don't know. Zip ties, kind of strange fascination. Yes, the zip ties, that's a weird thing. I mean, maybe there was a good reason for it. Maybe he worked somewhere where they use zip ties and he had come straight from work and just hadn't taken them off yet. Who knows? Drop that mic anyway. MH goes hand in hand with substance abuse. Mental health goes hand in hand with substance abuse. It sure does. So there was a lot of substances around that house, allegedly, potentially, with, is it Xana's mother and Maddie's mother that were both arrested for drug stuff? I don't want to start any rumors if I'm inaccurate, but a couple of the mothers of the students that were murdered were arrested, I think, in the days right after. I don't think it was related, but one of them I had read was charged with like $3 million worth of fentanyl. That's a lot. Fentanyl, man. So for all you that put down the YouTubers getting into these crimes, please tell the authorities to do their own job so we don't have to know exactly. I'm more concerned that law enforcement and news are talking about the YouTubers, the true crime. Like, really? Like, don't you have better things to focus on than what true crime folks are doing? I mean, it makes me feel like what we're doing is more valid, really. I mean, they're making it more valid. Where did we go? Where did we go? Okay, you guys, you're commenting so much, it's hard to keep up. Still trying to wake up. Let's see, your brain doesn't stop developing until mid 20s. So technically, being in college doesn't mean you're an adult, Caroline. Right. 25 years old, I think, I mean, that's how old you have to be to like rent a car. That is maybe how old people say that your brain stops developing when you're 25. But yeah, I mean, those of us who are past 30, I think would probably mostly agree that you're not really even getting close to adulthood until you're 30-ish, maybe. Honestly, sometimes I wonder if I'm getting close to adulthood. But being that I have 4 children, I think I must be, right. And that I've managed to stay out of jail my whole life and not hurt people, not be a criminal. I mean, seriously, just to like be on the straight and narrow. All right. Those zip ties are supposed to be a drinking game. Thank you. Also, I had to be sanctioned. I had really bad or um, postnatal depression and ended up using drugs, ended up with psychosis when younger. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you for sharing. That, yeah, postpartum psychosis is real. Absolutely. Um, I mean, your whole body chemistry changes. And again, the stress of having to keep a tiny person alive when, they don't come with an instruction manual. And then, whatever stress you have in your life and your living situation and your family situation, whatever you grew up with, for a lot of people that had trauma growing up, it gets triggered when they have kids, when they become the parent. All right, so I'm going to get all caught up and wrap up. We are getting close to an hour and 20. Thanks so much for being here, you guys. When you have a large group of friends, it's more about the embarrassment and shame if he was as possessive as they say. Such a good point. Such a good point. Um, Being made a fool of. That's what men fear more than anything in the world, is being made a fool of. It's a fact. I won't get into it because I'm trying to wrap up. We can get on that next one. If I write it down and remember, you guys will remind me if I don't, right? Um, and yeah, embarrassment and shame. Okay, let's see. Dylan Round's case is a crazy one. Yeah, I've not focused on that one. Um, Not protective bubble if they are partying, doping, drinking all the time. Well, I'd say that it is actually because, you're still like supported by your parents usually when you're in college. You're not having to deal with work. Like, you might get put on academic probation if you get in a lot of trouble. But, in real life, you might lose your job. You might lose your income. You might lose your housing. Um, I mean, sure, those things can happen in school as well. Hey, J Rod on point. How's it going? Passing by to show love and support. I did subscribe to you. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And yeah, I've been keeping up with your stuff too. And I'm so happy to see you sticking on the Kylie Rodney. Thank you for that. That's awesome. Um, and yeah, I keep saying I'm going to wrap up and then I keep getting caught back up in your comments. And I love you guys so much. I really appreciate you and your wonderful comments. I do want to wrap up because we are getting on the longer side. With a father that demonstrates so much toxic masculinity, her partner choice is not surprising. Oh, I like her dad. I really do. I think he's a sweetheart. Oh my goodness. But everybody's opinion is different. Um, I mean, I'm more questioning of her mother and her sister calling her a brat in her memorial. I think that's disgusting. I think that's toxic. Easier said than done being in a DV situation to leave. Believe me, I know from personal experience, restraining orders don't work when you're dealing with an abuser. Right. A piece of paper is meaningless. I mean, look at OJ and Nicole. I think she had a lot of restraining orders. Most people in domestic violence situations have been through the court thing, and it doesn't help. It's so sad. Um, and then mommy says, oh my God, they put boxes in there. Are you talking about the U-Haul truck? Yeah, it had never occurred to me that they might have been what they might have been hauling other than what they said, possessions. That's a good point. They probably brought the U-Haul truck in to take the bodies out to stop people from gawking. I can't believe we've never thought of that, you guys. Holy crap. Peace out. The mod says 78 in chat. Please hit the like button. The U-Haul truck was weeks later, so no. Well, let's hope. Yeah, good point, Kale. Thank you for straightening us out on that. Did I let me highlight that one and get onto my closing spiel, my little soapbox about exercise and hydration, protein, fruits and veggies, being kind to yourself, being kind to others. What else? Let's see. Today is still the 29th, so the day after tomorrow is New Year's Eve. Yeah, Saturday night is New Year's Eve. So it's just 10 in the morning. U-Haul was removing possessions. Right. That's what they said. But then Kale reminded me that it was weeks later. So yeah, it would have been, um, they would have had to remove the body bags probably within the first 48 hours. I mean, normally it's right away, but because they were trying to get evidence, it probably was more like 24 or 48 hours would be my guess. So yeah, I still think that removing the possessions when they haven't arrested anybody was really weird. And yeah, anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Maybe they have someone in their hair trigger. They won't say anything. I don't know if they are sure they want an arrest to stick. I sure hope so. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter that maybe there's going to be an arrest in the next couple of days, but I mean, I don't see any indicator of that. Um, I think her dad's mourning style can be mistaken for toxic masculinity. I just think he's a guarded man. Like I said, I think he's great. I mean, I think he seems like a really good person, and what a horrible situation to be in. Um, that's just my opinion of him. He seems like spot on, like the kind of dad that I would certainly want, or that I would want for my kids. Also, thank you, Zena. Wonderful live as always. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you. Just got nail on head. I think you just got nail on head. I didn't have a good home life when younger. It's been a long road, but all good now. I'm here for a reason. I'm looking to help others going through the same. Yeah, and on that note, Carrie, I want to say that, personally, I feel like I'm working out my own traumas in true crime, in focusing on other people's awful traumas, that I'm both able to work out my own issues simultaneously. I'm able to escape from my own problems. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. I feel like that's what draws me into it. So to me, it feels healthy. I can see somebody criticizing and saying, oh, you guys are silly or creepy or whatever, to each their own. It's a free country. We all get to make our own decisions. So um yeah, lucky lady, to answer your question about do you think they kept them in there that long? What about decomposition? I think you're correct. I think what Kale said is very accurate. That was a long time later. My brain just still is not really functioning with the morning coffee or the holidays or both. It's both. All right, you guys, you take care. Have a great day. So many unsolved cases. You would think how fast technology has come along would be easier to solve crimes. Absolutely. Like the eye in the sky, you know? We'll talk more about that next time. But yeah, all those doorbell cameras, all those traffic cams, there is a lot of electronic information to help solve these cases. So you guys have a great day. Peace out. Don't forget to stay hydrated, eat well, exercise, and take it easy. Be kind and stay away from toxic people. And thanks again. See you tomorrow. See you on the next one.